Hi everyone, my name is Jeff Underwood with Menu Collective, and we're partnering with Manitowoc Ice to help demonstrate the different types of ice, their different ice machines, and talk about what type of ice is best for your operation. Now, ice is something that most food service operators overlook, but it really is the most important part of any bar, because outside of hot drinks, 99% of what you're serving is either shaken and chilled with ice, poured over ice, or blended with ice and served to a customer. So the type of ice, the freshness of your ice, the purity of the water that goes in the ice machine, the amount of ice that you have, all these things that are just super, super important for anyone who wants to serve good drinks out of a bar. If you go to modern cocktail bars, what you're gonna see is they focus a lot on ice. They might carve their own ice. They have multiple types of ice, multiple ice machines, each with a different purpose, and it's important to the cocktail that they're trying to make. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start making some cocktails, and we're just going to talk about the different types of ice and ice machines as we do that. The first style of ice that we have is the Dice style, and we've pulled some Dice style ice from our Indigo Next ice machine, and with that I'm going to make you an Espresso Martini. Espresso Martini is something that used to be popular back in the day, but has definitely seen a resurgence. It's kind of like the vodka Red Bull for the craft cocktail drinker. Now with the Dice style of ice, I love this ice. It's a perfect all-around style of ice. So it's high capacity, so the machines make a ton of ice. It's got a real good size to it, and it's kind of designed for maximum cooling, slow melt, and it's great for higher volume operations just because of the size makes it a good all-around versatile style of ice. So we're going to start this Espresso Martini for you. First thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to start chilling this glass. And pouring some ingredients. I'm going to start with espresso that I pulled in advance from our Crem espresso machine. So I've got 1.5 ounces of espresso. Now I've pulled this in advance and I've chilled it. If you're using freshly brewed espresso, I'm going to show you a step that is kind of integral for this drink so you don't make a big mess and you get good results. So I had 1.5 ounces of fresh espresso. I'm going to do 3/4 ounce of creme de coco. There are lots of different ways to make this drink. This is just my favorite. And finally, I'm going to do 1 ounce of vodka. Now, a key step to this, especially if you're using fresh espresso, is to get some ice in there first to just kind of let that espresso cool down. If you just immediately start shaking with hot espresso, you're going to find that the two mixing tins don't seal very well and they'll pop apart, and it's just a big mess. Going to give this a good shake. And I'm going to strain this out. And we're going to finish with our garnish. We'll do 3 espresso beans. And there you go, Espresso Martini. Now when it comes to shaking cocktails, there are people who have done actual research on this, and they find that bigger cubes create a better texture whenever you're shaking. So, you know, if you're using very small ice, it's still going to get the job done, but kind of the larger cube all the way up to even like 1-inch cubes are going to give you a nicer, frothier texture whenever you're shaking. So that's why we've used the Dice Ice Cube to make this Espresso Martini. So today we're going to talk about the half dice size of ice and kind of the benefits of those, and then I'm going to make you a cocktail using that size of ice. Now the half dice size of ice, it really is kind of the workhorse of the ice world. It's the machines can produce tons of this ice. It's got a nice size for chilling down as fast as possible. It does melt slow. It's great for blended drinks, and it's just another good all-around type of ice. So the drink I'm going to make for you today, we just talked about, it's great for blended drinks, so I'm going to make you a blended drink. I'm going to make you a Pina Colada using the half dice ice. Now, the Pina Colada is a vacation favorite of everyone, and it's really a drink that has never gone away. You know, a lot of people, especially in the cocktail world, they've kind of frowned upon these blended drinks, but the Pina Colada, when done well, done with a nice rum, is just unbeatable. And with the half dice here, you're just going to get the perfect texture out of this drink. So we are going to start off with a nice rum. Going to do 1.25 ounces of this. Going to do 1 ounce pineapple juice. And then we're going to do 3 ounces of coconut cream. Now, a little known secret here, whenever you're measuring ice for your blender, the way to really just kind of nail the right amount of ice for this is actually to use your serving glass as kind of the measuring vessel. And there we go. And now I'm going to go blend. And there you go, your Pina Colada. Now, a couple other key pointers about the half dice size of ice is one of the reasons it's so good for blending is because of its a little bit smaller size. So if you're using, say, big cubes for blending, it'll absolutely work, but sometimes the way they fit in your measuring or however you're measuring, it's just not uniform. But with the smaller size of ice, you get a very uniform level of ice. Another thing too is whenever you're just making regular drinks with this, this also kind of, you can get a lot of ice into a glass. So if you're, for specific cocktails, you're not over pouring the amount of liquor or mixer in a glass. Right now I'm going to demonstrate to you the uses and benefits of the regular cube of ice. Now, this is actually one of my favorite sizes of ice because it is a bigger cube. The clarity on it is beautiful. And really it's kind of in the middle between a smaller cube and a really big, fat, nice cube. But it's cool because it's larger, which helps with slower dilution. But you can get machines that pump these out very fast. So you can get a high volume of these cubes. So it really is kind of perfect for your higher volume cocktail applications. So to demonstrate this cube, I'm going to make for you a Spanish style gin and tonic. Now the difference between a regular gin and tonic and a Spanish style gin and tonic is really, it's still gin and it's still tonic, but it's thinking about the ingredients just a little bit more. And with the proliferation of different types of gin on the market and the craft mixer market where you've just got tons of different styles of tonic now, it's really thinking about which gin goes best with which tonic. And you can also do things like add bitters or a fortified wine or a liqueur or an amaro to really kind of up the overall experience. So to me, it's just kind of an upgraded gin and tonic. So we're going to start with an upgraded glass. And I love these. So we're going to start with a healthy pour of gin. So we're actually doing 2 ounces of gin here. Now we're going to use a high-end tonic for this. I'm going to be very careful about pouring this. I want to pour it slowly so I'm not losing a lot of the carbonation here. And I'm just going to give that a gentle nudge to mix it properly. We hit it with another cube or 2. And then here comes the fun part, the garnish. So because it is an upgraded experience, we're going to have a little fun with the garnish here. And people think about this really too. They add garnish that really pairs well either with the botanicals in the specific gin they're using or something that pairs really nicely with the ingredients that are in the tonic. So I've got lemon and lime, a couple of sage leaves, give you a little bit of juniper. And finish it off with some star anise. And there you go. Right now, I'm going to be demonstrating Nugget Style Ice. Now, everybody knows and loves Nugget Style Ice, mainly because people love to eat it and chew on it. It's soft, it's got a good texture, but it also has some other key uses behind a cocktail bar. One of those is some people just have a Nugget ice machine literally just to chill glasses and to put in ice wells so they can chill down ingredients. So it's super useful for that because of its small size. It's also great for blender drinks because it is a smaller size. So that way when you're measuring ice for blender drinks, you get a very uniform level of ice for great consistency whenever you're doing blended drinks. But one of my favorite uses for it too is in tiki style drinks. Now, the good thing about Nugget Style Ice is that it has a lot of surface area, so it's going to chill down super fast. It's going to give you a nice amount of dilution, but once it's basically hit a certain temperature, it's going to dilute very little. And in certain drinks like tiki style drinks, as well as things like juleps, it's also, once it chills to the right temperature, it's basically just going to form an ice lattice and it's not going to melt anymore. So it's going to get super slow dilution. It's going to keep the drink super cold. Now the types of drinks that really works well for is drinks that are very boozy, something like a mint julep, which is basically a lot of whiskey, a little sweetener, and some mint. Or tiki drinks, which have funky rums and then syrups and tart juices and things like that need a good hit of dilution immediately, but once they get to the right level, you just kind of want to leave them where they're at. So I'm going to make a drink for you called the Queen's Park Swizzle. And this is a classic tiki style drink. It's going to start off with some mint, now to this I'm going to add a ½ ounce of fresh lime juice, ½ ounce of Demerara sugar syrup, which is basically just sugar in the raw or any dark kind of unwashed sugar. And I'm going to muddle this. I'm not going to really just obliterate this. All I want to do is just release the oils in this mint without muddling so much that I'm going to start releasing things I don't want in there. To that, I'm going to add 2 ounces of a funky dark blended rum. Now you can make this with lots of different rums. This just happens to be my favorite just for the cool dark brown flavors that it brings out in it. Now for the swizzling. So I'm going to start filling this with the Nugget Ice. And there's actually a proper utensil for this, but a bar spoon will work as well. So I'm just going to start kind of turning this back and forth. And so what I'm doing here is I'm diluting, I'm chilling, but especially for nice glasses that are thin, like this glass here, if you do this enough, over time it'll form a nice condensation and actually a frost on the outside of the glass. And on this one, you really don't want to spare the ice. So to finish this off, I'm going to top it with some Angostura bitters. And then another nice bouquet of mint. So you get a really nice aromatic hit of mint right in your face as you go to drink this. There you go. Queen's Park Swizzle. I'm super excited to introduce to you a brand new addition to the Manitowoc Ice lineup, the Crystal Cube. It's a 1 inch by 1 inch crystal clear slow melting cube and cubes like this are really the darling of the cocktail industry right now. If you go into an establishment and they've got these cubes, you get a good feeling because it tells you that they've put some thought into this. So the benefits of this obviously are that they're big, beautiful cubes. They melt slow and they just really give you a lot of control over a cocktail because they melt so slow. It really allows you to dial in the temperature and the dilution that you want, especially for things like stirring a cocktail. If you're using a lot of, very tiny cubes, wet cubes for stirring a cocktail, you don't have a lot of control there. Like you're at your dilution point 5 seconds or less sometimes. So these big cubes really let you dial in the exact dilution and temperature that you're looking for. And bigger cubes are also great for shaking. They really help aerate a cocktail and give you a nice texture whenever you're shaking a cocktail. So just super exciting new addition. And again, bartenders love these things. So I'm going to make you a cocktail called a Boulevardier. And it's one of my favorite cocktails. It's very similar to a Negroni. It's got Campari, it's got sweet vermouth, but instead of gin, we're using rye whiskey. And if you're a whiskey drinker, honestly, it's a drink you'd really, really love. So we're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. We're going to do 3/4 ounce of Campari. And then 3/4 ounce of a high quality sweet vermouth. And then I'm going to add my ice. If you notice, I poured my ingredients first because I really, again, part of controlling that dilution and chill is I want to start the dilution when I want to start the dilution. So now I add my ice. But on the flip side of that, another great thing about the size and how slow these cubes melt is that once you've iced this, you can just kind of let it sit. So that way, if you're making, you've got a ticket with 4 or 5 other drinks that are a little more time sensitive, you can go and do those things and then come back and stir this whenever you're ready and it won't have diluted that much. So I'm just going to start giving this a good stir. Give this a quick taste. That's about right where I want it. Get some big fresh ice cubes here. And again, cubes this large are really great for things like serving really nice spirits with just a couple of ice cubes in it. They're going to melt slowly, and that little bit of dilution is really going to help open up the flavors in those spirits. And these are also great for a cocktail like this, where I've stirred it and I've got it exactly where I want it. Then I can pour it over large cubes like these, which again, are going to melt very slowly. And so this drink is going to dilute very slowly over time. It's going to stay consistent and just be a great drink all the way through. My garnish. Express orange oils over the top. Bit of twist. And there you go. Boulevardier.